Melly? Um, Councilor Oliver is going to run the meeting tonight. I just want to mention that. And I will be on audio because I'm out of town and find it difficult to operate without the computer. So I will listen.
Recording in progress.
So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Councilor Oliver.
Great, thank you, Chair Baker. I think at this point we're just going to hold off for a moment or two. There are only 2 members of the Zoning and Planning Committee present at this point, so we need a couple of minutes here to even get to minimum quorum, at least as far as I can see. 1, 2, there's 3 of us, so I need at least one more person, I believe, to keep or to start the presentation. So hopefully we'll just be a couple of minutes here, and we'll be right back with you.
Councilor Danberg, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and Acting Chair indicated she would be late, so but she was going to attend.
Okay, thank you, sir. So for now, we're just going to hang on for a minute. Raina, would you mind poking a few of our friends? Just text-wise? I suppose I can do the same. All right. Never mind, we're good now. All right, there we go. Now we have a quorum. We can begin the proceedings. Hello, everyone. My name is John Oliver, City Councilor from Ward 1. Tonight is an irregularly scheduled meeting of the Zoning and Planning Committee. Tonight we have what could be a very full agenda. We have 2 public hearings, but just in order to be a little expeditious here in releasing some of our participants tonight, we're going to take 2 items before we get to the public hearing. I hope everybody saw that in our packet. This evening from the Zoning and Planning Committee, you're joined by myself, Councilor Oliver, we have Councilor Getz, we have Councilor Baker online, and we also have Councilor Wright. We now have Councilor Kalis online as well. Sir, do you want to introduce who's here from the Planning Board?
Yes, this is Kevin McCormick, Chair of the Planning Board. We also have in the House Jim O'Connell and Ed Daly. And online is Lee Breckenridge and Peter Doringer and Amy Dane. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you, sir. So from here, we are also joined, I'm sorry? No? All right, thought I heard something. So from here, I am going to let everyone else from the city who is here with us tonight to introduce themselves as we go through these items. The first item we'll be hearing is item 274-25, CPC recommendation to appropriate $2,154,544 in CPA funding. And for that, I believe I'm turning it over to Molly Hutchings.
Thanks, bear with me. It's my first time in the chamber, and I'm learning how to use the mic. But is that great? So hello, everyone. We're here to discuss the Newton Affordable Housing Trust funding, which is funding that the Community Preservation Program allocates every year. The Newton Affordable Housing Trust was formed in 2021. For those of you who might not remember, it is 7 members and it meets bi-monthly since June of 2022. Over the last 3 years, trustees have developed program guidelines and an application process and are now accepting funding applications. During the initial ordinance review process, the CPC agreed to allocate its annual target for community housing, which is 35% of revenue, to the trust for use on future housing projects. The Newton Affordable Housing Trust, the annual funding application requests that the program's target amount for the community housing, which is currently equal to 35% of FY25 annual funds, be allocated for future projects which acquire, create, support, preserve, and restore or rehabilitate affordable housing in Newton. And these are all the categories which are eligible housing expenses under the Community Preservation Act program. This is our current request. We are recommending, CPC is recommending that $500,000 out of the community housing reserve account be spent, as well as the remaining balance of $1.6 million out of the unrestricted prior year. This is our current financial report, our finances at a glance that we update every month. The only money that has been spent that is not reflected in this report is the $15,000 that was recently allocated towards the Newton Community Farm deck. Other than that, these figures are up to date. That's all I have, but I'm happy to answer more questions. Also online is Buzz Dunker, who is the CPC chair. And in the audience are both Ann Houston and Peter, who are from the Affordable Housing Trust and can answer questions.
Great, thank you very much for that. At this point, are there any questions from the folks in zoning and planning? Great. Councilor Getz.
Just a quick question about the timetable of the appropriations. Is this going to be one of a series of appropriations throughout the year? Or could you delineate that, please?
No, this happens annually.
So in terms of pulling from the CPC funds, this is it for this year,
That is correct.
this financial year?
Great, thank you for that. All set? Councilor Getz, you're all set? Great. Anyone else online in the chamber? Great, I think we're all set. The only comment I have is this is the SOP, right? This is the normal process. This is the acquisition of funds, the transfer of funds from one account
Yes,
to the
this
next.
is the process we do every year. You'll see me again this time next year with the same request.
Great, thank you for that. With that said, I'm happy to entertain a motion here. Councilor Getz.
So moved.
Fantastic. Councilor Baker, I'm assuming you don't have comment or question there, you're just popping up on my screen.
I'm popping up to vote when I can. The signal's not great, so I just have to do it when I can.
Fantastic, thank you, sir. So we have a motion to approve 274-24. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, I believe we are 5 members, is that correct? Right, so that shows 5-0. Thank you very much, I appreciate that. The next item we'll be taking up is item 243-25, the appointment of Denise Lizio to the Newtonville Historic District Commission. I'm not sure if, she is in the room, fantastic. The way we generally run appointments is we invite you, I mean, obviously we have your resume that was in our packet, but we're going to invite you to kind of let us know why you're interested in running, anything you want us to know about yourself, your interest in the project or the program, and from there we'll go to Q&A. Can you just make sure that's on?
Is this on?
There we go, that sounds better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for bumping me up in the schedule. I really appreciate that. And closer?
Sorry, just get a little closer to the microphone, please.
Sorry about that. And my husband and I moved to Newton. We purchased a house in 1998. It was dilapidated old home here in Newton Corner, and it was owned by a man named Tony Pruckner. And Tony Pruckner was dubbed the mayor of Newton Corner. He and his wife owned this house that was originally owned by the first Newton Water Commissioner, or the property was at any rate. And Tony and his wife lived there their entire lives. And when the Massachusetts Turnpike came through, Tony went to Washington and lobbied Congress to carve out some homes in Newton Corner. And that's how my husband and I were able to purchase the house, was because the homeowners refused to sell it to a developer, and they wanted somebody who was going to restore it. My husband is an old house restoration guy, and lucky me. And so we now have a fabulous home in Newton Corner. And my husband has worked on several old houses, including a sort of famous one in Medfield called Quinnipiquin, and from the 1700s, maybe even earlier. And so I have a great love of old houses, and I also recognize the need for housing. I'm a consumer advocate. I work with the National Consumer Law Center, and I absolutely recognize the need for low-income housing. And so I have a sort of balance. My father was an American historian, and he was a history professor his entire life. He wrote 3 books on presidential history, and so I'm steeped in history and houses, and it seemed like a good fit. And I was looking for an opportunity to serve the city in some way, and so I applied.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Do we have any questions from the group? Councilor Getz.
Thank you very much for stepping up. And I appreciate you being honest about melding the two, in terms of historic preservation and affordability. There are many people in this room that are big proponents of adaptive reuse. And I think that that's really important in historic preservation.
I agree.
So that's wonderful to hear. And thank you for stepping up, and thank you, because it sounds like you will do a marvelous job.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Nope. Great. All right. And if I may, just one quick question. I kind of building off of something not only you said, but Councilor Getz was talking about, was the importance of acknowledging not only the need for historic preservation, but other priorities that we have as a city. And I'm curious, how do you, or how would you think through some of those, the trade-offs at some stages between, historic preservation and perhaps some of the more modern, I guess might be a good word, modern needs or values that the city is espousing to, whether that's sustainability, electrification, things of that nature. Just curious how you think through those topics.
I think that's a fair question, but I also think that it's a case by case basis, unfortunately. However, I do think that we have to think about sustainability. We have to think about affordability. And my guess is that most people who are purchasing homes in historic districts are able to accommodate many of those concerns. And where they're not, I think we have to look for creative ways to, find a balance. I know that's not specific, but I do hold an open mind, about both of those things.
Great, thank you. I recognize you can't be specific, but I do appreciate the tone and the tenor of there is a balance, and I really do appreciate your candor with that response. And as at least from my quick view here, we do not have our Ward 2 representative on the call tonight, but you do live in Ward 1, so I would be happy to move this for approval. And with that said, all those in favor, oh, I'm sorry, Counselor.
I'm just here to vote.
You're
when I
voting.
can.
You're getting ready to vote. Fantastic. All those in favor of this appointment, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed or abstain? Great, thank you. I believe we are now 6-0. Is that correct with Councilor Kalis? Still 5. Either way, it's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very
And
much.
from here, what will happen is our recommendation will go to the full city council. At the next full city council meeting, this item will come up for approval, with the entire city council. You do not have to be there for that. We would normally expect things to go through with a unanimous recommendation. But again, you're more than welcome to join us, and thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you very much. Would you like to take the mic off?
Yes, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Have a great night. We now have 2 public hearings. These are joint public hearings between the Planning and Development Board and the Zoning and Planning Committee of the City Council. The first item we're going to be taking up is 375-24, requesting discussion and possible amendments to Chapter 30 zoning to allow for certain routine residential alterations by right, otherwise known as de minimis. And for that, I believe I'm turning it over to Mr. Lamel from the Planning Department.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Council, for introducing this item. So for this joint public hearing, what we are talking about are thinking about what the committee was just talking about. It's really about incentivizing and creating pathways to preserve existing homes, to create easier pathways for existing homes to renovate, remodel, add additions, things like that. And the way that this works within the zoning ordinance is through these de minimis rules. And so special permits go through the land use committee, and the land use committee approached the planning department and said, we are seeing a variety of modifications and alterations to existing homes routinely, and we are regularly granting these requests for small additions, minor bump outs, enclosing of porches, things like that. And the reason why they get triggered and tripped into special permits is because the vast majority of the city is non-conforming in some way. They're non-conforming to setbacks, FAR, height, use, all different types of things. And when you want to extend a non-conformity, those changes require a special permit, except for the de minimis allowances, which are on the books already. And we'll get into why many of those existing de minimis relief or allowances aren't being able to be taken fully advantage of. And so when the leadership of the land use committee came to us, we said, we're going to look at these various special permits that you're seeing over and over again, and we're going to bring them to zoning and planning committee and the city council overall to find ways where we could take the most typical and again, add that, either modify to make the existing de minimis rules more easy to use and being taken advantage of, or make new ones if they are agreed upon. And so what we did was, through the winter, worked with the land use committee to identify kind of the most common things that they see, introduce these items to the zoning and planning committee, and coordinate with our folks in current planning, inspectional services, and law to come up with a set of recommendations. Those were worked out and presented in the spring, Some of those had a warm reception. Those are here in front of you tonight. Some of those did not, and those were removed from the recommendation here in front of you. And so when we talk about de minimis relief, this list is what is already on the books. It's about adding dormers. It's about creating decks and porches, creating small additions of enclosing existing spaces, things like that. And what we found is, in order to take advantage of those allowances, you have to meet these varying requirements. And the ones that are highlighted in yellow are really the two biggest obstacles that prevent a home that would otherwise be able to take advantage of it from doing so, and bumps it into special permit. And we'll get into each of these with the four essentially recommendations that are in front of you here. What they are is about allowing a vertical extension of non-conforming side and rear setbacks. So what that means is there is a wing or something in the setback already, and they want to put a second story above it. That is an allowance by de minimis. There are alterations. We want to say if you have a two-family home in a single residence in an SR district, that could be modified. We want to allow for very small increases in non-conforming FAR if you're just when you're enclosing an existing porch. And we'll talk about a fourth one, which is about the increase of the height of a building. And I put that in quotes because it's an increase that is happening on paper from a zoning perspective. It's not that the building is actually getting taller. So it's to allow that addition. And again, we'll talk about each of these in more detail right now. So the first one is when you want to add a second floor addition within the existing footprint of a home. So I think we talked about this. If some of you remember the facade ratio piece, which will be back in a couple of weeks. You know, there's many homes that have single story wings. A lot of those wings are within the side setbacks, and people want to put, a second story addition on top of them. The de minimis rules allow for this to happen. However, it only is allowed when the cumulative setbacks between the proposed building and the adjacent building are equal to or greater than the required setbacks. And in many cases, that is 25 feet or 15 feet. It could be significant. And we know that a lot of these neighborhoods that were built and developed pre-zoning, they don't meet that minimum of 25 feet or what have you. And so here's, two properties along Grove Street. You can see where the arrow is pointing. There's a wing hiding behind the tree, and they wanted to put an addition on top of it. However, between the two properties, there wasn't the minimum required setbacks of that 25 feet. This was approved by special permit 7-0. The neighbor provided a letter of support. And so the recommended change here, which is shown in red, is that if you are to do this, again, if you are to only extend up to the second story within the existing footprint, you can do so up to 400 square feet. And this was a number that was provided by the committee in previous meetings. You can still do that through the de minimis process. The second piece is allowing two-family dwellings to modest alterations or additions when they're in a single residence zone. There are over 1,300 non-conforming two-family homes in single residence districts right now. And essentially, that use is a non-conforming use, and anything they want to do triggers a special permit. And so this example at 336 Cabot Street was two-family home, two condos. It met all of the dimensional standards for the zoning district, the single-family home in the single residence district. And so it was, just because it was a two-family home, that's what tipped it into the special permit. So dimensionally, if this were a single-family home, this would have just been a by right project. But it was because it was a two-family home in a single residence district that it tipped into special permit. Which means the recommendation before you tonight is to say that if there is an existing two-family home and it meets all the dimensional requirements of a single-family home in that district, meaning the only difference is that there's 2 units instead of 1, then they can make those modifications under de minimis and do it by right. The third one is about enclosing porches. This is an issue where the de minimis changes right now don't allow you to increase a non-conforming FAR. So you have homes that exist on small lots where they might have a kind of open porch. And then by enclosing that porch, it's added square footage to FAR, and it triggers essentially, it knocks you out of the ability to utilize de minimis. This example here, 140 Dickerman Road, relatively small lot, 6,600 square feet. The existing FAR was already over the allowance of 0.44. The existing porch was 115 square feet, and they're just enclosing the porch. So they're not adding mass, they're just enclosing existing mass. But because that FAR was already non-conforming, they weren't able to take advantage of the de minimis change. And so what this is saying is that porches up to 400 square feet, again, these are numbers shared and that came out of the committee discussions earlier this year, that you would be able to utilize the de minimis allowance. Finally, the fourth one here, and this is one that was not shared previously. Unfortunately, this is something that's been coming up more recently, particularly due to the changes in how we measure height, which we measure height now from existing grade, which is, I think, a really valuable change that the council and the committee has made. But what we are seeing is that if there is an existing home, an existing non-conforming home to height, so there are not that many of these, but think of the older homes that are slightly taller than 36 feet. If they are to add an addition that increases that height, and when I say increase, again, I mean on paper, and I'll show you the example right here, kind of diagrammatically. If that height increases, it triggers a special permit. There's no de minimis allowance because, again, this is a change that was made now. This is happening now because of the change. It's about a year that was made maybe a year ago now on how we measure height from existing grade. So you see the home on the diagram of the home on the left of an existing home. It's 37 feet. That's non-conforming. The maximum allowed height is 36 feet, and for single and two family homes. And they propose an addition in the rear that's well below the existing home height. The property itself slopes down, so the topography changes and goes lower. The way we measure height, now the average grade has been lowered. And so the zoning height of this building has gone from 37 feet to 39.5 feet, even though the ridge line or the overall height of the building itself hasn't changed. So again, that's my use of increased in quotation marks. This triggers a special permit right now. And 163 Lincoln Street is already a project that came through the Land Use Committee and Council over the summer. This was approved just in August, where you have older home. The addition is in the rear of the home, completely in the rear. It's outlined in red here. And you can see in plan view, it's all the way in the back. And in section, the height of the addition is well below the maximum, the existing, peak of the building. And what happens is, because the grade of the site is changing and the addition is moving lower, the zoning height of the building was 38.69 pre-proposal, and then with the proposal, the height goes to 38.86. And that's what kicked this into a special permit. It was approved unanimously and went through. And there are other examples of this that are starting to arise. And so we just, we see this, current planning sees this, ISD sees this as one more thing that, we're taking some things out of the land use committee review because they've deemed it unnecessary. This is one that we think would inevitably reach that if it were to do so. And so we put that here in front of you as a recommendation, so that if someone is putting an addition on an existing home, existing building that has a non-conforming height, so it's only existing homes, it's only homes that are already over that 36 feet. If the addition is no greater in height than the existing building, so it's either at the ridge line or below, this would fall under the de minimis changes. So those are the 4 zoning recommendations before you for the public hearing tonight. The next steps to hold the public hearing jointly and have some discussion and hopefully vote. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. So just to recap there, 3 of those 4 de minimis items have been discussed several times, I think, in zoning and planning. The last one there that Mr. Lamel is talking about has not been discussed, not at all. But in the interest of kind of continuing on with the public hearing, I do want to open up the public hearing now to see if we have any comments, questions, thoughts from anyone in attendance here regarding de minimis, any of the 4 items that are included herein. I don't see anyone in the chamber. I don't see anyone online at this point. So I'm going to leave that open, but I do want to open up the conversation for not only zoning and planning, but the planning. Oh, sorry. Do we have someone now? Oh, we do. Councilor Kalis. Right.
Am I huge on the screen there?
Yes, but it's fantastic.
I've never seen that. So,
sir.
okay. So my question is on number 3. You described it in such clarity that I just wanted to make sure. Would you ever see a situation where somebody would actually raise the height of the house? Not because of the basement, but actually raise it, because that's what we've been seeing with new construction. They're raising the buildings to be able to build a basement in high water table areas. But I'm just wondering. I just wanted to throw that out there. Would we see any of that? I don't think so, but I just wanted to make sure.
You're referring to the 4th item?
Third, I think it's the 3rd item.
Enclosed porches, I believe.
Enclosing a porch?
No, maybe it's the 4th one then.
The 4th item adding. So it would only be applicable to existing homes already. And they'd already have to be non-conforming in height. So in terms of fully raising, I mean, you're still met. I'd say a couple of things. One is you can only have 2.5 stories, right? So if you start to really play and raise your basement up so that your basement is no longer a basement, then you're kicking it into an addition, a story, and you can't do that, right? So I think the simple answer is no.
Okay.
But I think there are other protections in place. There's still maximum allowed FAR. There's still maximum allowed. You're still having to measure from existing grades. So to do all that work, I'm going to. I don't think
it would happen, but I just wanted to ask. Thank you.
All set, Councilor?
Yes.
All right, great. Anyone in the room? And by the way, I'm opening this up to not only ZAP, but the planning board as well, especially item 4, because we haven't seen it before. Councilor Getz.
The only question I have, I'm pretty supportive of all these changes because they're truly de minimis, is on your slide number 18. I got a little bit confused because ridge line to me means the top of the house, not that peak. You see and I'm sorry, I don't even know what it's called, but it's on the far right and the far left in the image. It's a cone. Is that height designated as the building height? Is that taken into account when you start measuring building heights, or is it truly the ridge line, which I define as the majority of the rooftop?
I'd have to get clarification from inspectional services, but I think you're correct in the ridgeline, but let me clarify. I don't know if anyone else in staff would know the answer to that, but
Well, I'm not entirely sure what the correct label is for the peak of the roof, but I just said it, I call that the peak of the
right.
roof. So to me, that is the top from which everything is measured. And, now that we've got the average grade, it goes from average grade level to the full height of the roof line or the peak of the roof. But that's just me.
Mr. Chairman?
John, I'm just sort of suggesting I'd love to know what ISD considers the uppermost top measurement of a structure.
So
Okay.
in the zoning ordinance, towers, spires, domes, and ornamental features are essentially not included. So I would think something like that would not be included, fit into that.
Okay, Councilor Baker, a comment on that?
Just, I think that the first three items, we've done through committee, but I would be a little reluctant to vote the last one, just because we have not had a chance to think about it and answer the questions that you've just indicated. And so if the motion to hold is appropriate at some point, I'll support that. But I want to make sure that I don't interfere with the conduct on the floor here because I'm remote.
No, I think that's certainly a possibility. The other thing that we could do, and I'm open to this as well, is perhaps we split this item and we move the first three items forward for approval, and then we split off the fourth item for further discussion. As a possibility.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, yeah, because I concur. The fourth one being net new probably warrants a couple of Q&A back and forth. Councilor Wright.
Thank you. Oops. Thank you. I'm very supportive of all these and even number 4. But I see an issue with the allowing the second floor addition on wings, which I think we should do, with another thing coming forward. I don't think tonight, the 60% rule about residential facade build-outs, because we didn't include those wings as part of that 60%. So I think going forward, when we're looking at that, maybe, we're talking mostly about new builds sort of thing, and maybe there's a look back of 5 years or something like that before you could add an addition to the wings.
Interesting point. So I think really we've got a couple of questions about this fourth item, at least to this point. I see another hand, assuming you're all set, Councilor?
Yes.
For now, anyway. Mr. Doringer. You're currently muted.
Fixed that one. So I guess I had a quick question, which are we exempting in these de minimis proposals? Are we exempting external second floor stairways?
I don't believe so, because the way that the language is written for the de minimis piece for the vertical extension is that it has to be completely within the existing building footprint. And it's talking about exempting additional square footage, which I don't think a vertical stairway would be counted towards.
Okay, then I'm comfortable with the first three proposals, and I endorse Councilor Baker's suggestion, or the suggestion to split off the fourth item for further discussion. I'm fine with the first three. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Whether from the public or planning board, Zap? No, it sounds like we're all set with the Q&A. I'd be happy to accept a motion from the floor, or I can make one. Anybody want to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think two motions will be in order. One is to close the public hearing, and the second to vote the first three items and split off the second as a parens 2 and hold that item if someone removed those.
Fair point. So the first motion here is motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
So moved. Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any abstains? No? Sir?
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Fantastic. The public hearing is now closed.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you, sir. All right, so we have completed item 375-24. And now we're going to move on to item 44-24. Excuse me, requesting the reevaluation and possible amendments to the inclusionary zoning ordinance. And I believe I am turning this over, fantastic, to the planning department here. They're going to switch some chairs around, and they'll be with us in a few seconds here. But thank you. And again, this is a public hearing for item 44-24.
Is this on? Can everybody hear me okay? Great. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm Shaylin Davis Ayanako, and I'll be presenting on the inclusionary zoning public hearing. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and just to bring us all up to speed on why we're here and what our next steps are really. Every 5 years, the inclusionary zoning ordinance requires us to reevaluate the ordinance and just make sure that it's still working the best it can for the current market. And the last time the reevaluation happened was in August of 2019. So the planning department consulted with RKG Associates in the summer of 2024 to start conducting this analysis. And then after discussing the ordinance with staff, RKG consulted with nonprofit and for-profit developers in the city, affordable housing advocates, fair housing advocates, land use attorneys, and other interested stakeholders to see where improvement to the existing ordinance could be made. After consultation with the kind of stakeholders, RKG began consulting with the Zoning and Planning Committee, the Planning and Development Board, the Newton Affordable Housing Trust, and the Newton Fair and Affordable Housing Partnership to discuss the changes they recommended, which brings us here. Over the summer, planning staff have gone ahead and redlined the ordinance, given the recommended changes we've heard. And oh,
I understand we're lacking audio on the Zoom here. We're trying to get that fixed for you.
thank you. Can everybody hear me on the Zoom now?
Can I just get a thumbs up from somebody online there?
Okay, great.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thanks.
So then just really briefly, we are conducting a reevaluation of the ordinance, which we are required to do every 5 years. We contracted with RKG Associates to begin this work last summer and they have since consulted with interested stakeholders in Newton, including affordable housing advocates, nonprofit and for-profit developers that work within the city, fair housing advocates, land use attorneys, staff, and including the Zoning and Planning Committee, Planning and Development Board, Newton Affordable Housing Trust, and Newton Fair and Affordable Housing Partnership. We've kind of taken all of the recommendations that we've heard and tried to make some changes to the ordinance that we think will fine-tune it a little bit and make it better. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna reshare a spreadsheet to kind of walk through the the key changes that we are recommending. Can everybody see the Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we are recommending slight change in affordability to both rental and ownership projects, and I'll show you the tables. So rental projects, we're recommending removing the middle income tier. So for the 110% of AMI units, we're recommending removing that tier as they often sit vacant and can be costly to the developer when they sit vacant. And instead, we're recommending just an affordable tier. For 7 to 20 unit projects, we're recommending 15% of those be affordable. 21 to 99 units, we're recommending 17.5% be affordable. And then 100 plus unit projects, we're recommending 18.5% be affordable. And when I say affordable, I mean at an average of 65% of AMI. So there could be some 65% units, some 50% units, and some 80% units. For homeownership projects, it's largely the same. So you can see here there are kind of 4 columns of project size. We're recommending just combining the first 2 columns. So for 7 to 20 unit projects, we would do 15%, or we're recommending 15% affordable at 80% of AMI, and no middle income units for that, for those projects of those size. For 21 to 99 units, we're recommending 10% be affordable at 80%, and then 7.5% be affordable at 110% of AMI. And then for 100 unit plus homeownership projects, we're recommending, this should actually say, 10% be affordable at 80% of AMI, 8.5% be affordable at the middle income tier of 110% of AMI, again for 18.5% total affordability in the project. We're then recommending raising the buy rate payment in lieu of providing units from the 7 to 9 units that's currently allowable to 7 to 19 units. We're recommending to allow for a buy right partial unit payment for any fractional unit, as opposed to the current roundup unit policy that we have now, where if you owe 0.45 units, you technically owe a full unit at that point. We are recommending an annual review and recalculation of the TDC by the Newton Fair and Affordable Housing Partnership. The kind of 5th large recommendation is a recommendation to eliminate the requirement for contractual resident services for the extremely low income provision or alternative compliance option. We're recommending we remove the public funding limitation language in Article 511.9. And then the final kind of key recommendation is remove the medical services component of the formula to calculate in lieu payments for senior housing developments with services. And I've kind of tried to shade these here where we've seen some consensus amongst the groups. So you'll see There was largely some consensus between the Zoning and Planning Committee, the partnership, and the Planning and Development Board in green. Yellow indicates there might have been agreement, but I think largely the Zoning and Planning Committee wanted to come back to these items last time we spoke. And then this orange color here, you'll see there's some disagreement. So the partnership does support eliminating the contractual resident services requirement under the ELI alternative compliance option, and the Planning and Development Board disagrees with that. And again, ZAP indicated, I think, support last time, but wanted to revisit it. So I didn't indicate support. And I will stop there for questions.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And just out of curiosity, do we have folks from RKG on the line? Should we need them?
Sorry?
Are there folks from RKG on the line as well?
Yes.
Just in case?
Kyle is online.
Okay, fantastic. I also see Andrew Lee from the legal department here as well. So with that said, I'd like to open the public hearing. If there is anyone online or in the room who wishes to comment, please show us your electronic hand, please. It's much easier to see everyone that way, at least here in the room. Okay, currently I'm seeing no hands online. Are there folks in the room who have questions regarding any of the items that we just heard about? Councilor Wright.
Thank you. A question on that chart. It said that ZAP was in agreement for the 7 to 9 or the 10 to 9 units in lieu of payment. I know a few of us were not in agreement with that. So why, do you know did we actually vote on it and what the vote was?
No, so I think there was an indication of agreement, but that's kind of why it was in yellow. I think there was a portion of the Zoning and Planning Committee that wanted to have the 7 to 9 units remain for homeownership units, I believe. And then we're okay with the by right payment in lieu for 7 to 19 units for rental projects.
I think there still were a few of us that were not in agreement on that at all.
I would concur. I think that there's an asterisk on that just for that very reason, because I don't recall us taking straw votes on those. I do believe that at least my recollection of the conversation concluded with we're okay bringing that to the public hearing, but I don't think, there hadn't been any straw votes or any indication that it was good to go. I think the TBD is the appropriate language there, at least from my perspective. Thank you for that. All set?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Any questions, thoughts, comments? Oh, sorry, Councilor Kalis.
No, it's not really a comment on that. It's just more procedural. I think, and Andrew Lee, you might be able to tell me this. Does somebody have to move to open the public hearing and then move to close it? I think we have to do that. I think, Chair, you just said that we're going to open the public meeting. So if we have to, I move to open the public hearing.
Traditionally, that's what has happened, Mr. Chair, that they do the motion. Technically speaking, it's not necessary, but I absolutely have no problem with us following kind of the usual practice.
Okay, well then, thank you for that, Councilor. So we have a motion.
Move to open the planning board public hearing. Council Oliver.
Great, thank you. We have two motions to open the public hearing. I'll start with the Zoning and Planning Committee. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any abstention, or sorry, any no votes? Any, I've totally lost it. Any abstentions? Hearing none, that is unanimous. To the Planning Board.
All on the planning board in favor of opening the public meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Councilor, for the procedural update there. Are there any other open questions, or anyone with questions, comments, thoughts regarding item 4424? Okay, at this point, I'm not seeing any hands online. I'm not seeing any in the room either. Sorry, I'm now seeing a hand in the air. Councilor Getz.
Okay. I appreciate seeing the tables because I think that, you know, in terms of the quantity of shifts and so many sort of opinions on the different specific items, it was really helpful to just see those tables right now. You know, because I spent quite a bit of time, I created my own table just to be able to start digesting and teasing the differences between all of the three proposals that were in front of us. You know, the only piece that I sort of wanted a little bit more of an explainer was, you know, the distinction between the rental and the ownership. And I sort of felt like the partnership did a really good job of, you know, discussing it in committee. And I, you know, pretty much support all of their recommendations. Okay. So I don't know where we are. Do we want to go line by line through the ordinance language, or are we, I'm not seeing any people from the public wanting to speak.
Correct. I think that any questions at this point are legit.
Okay, so I move to hold because I feel as if this is quite a bit of content, and unless we're going to go through the specificity of going through the ordinance language tonight, there's quite a bit more digest that's needed, you know, and I'm speaking on my behalf, you know, just in terms of, I would love to be emailed that table because it was a requirement on my part to go through all of the content and make all of the comparatives, you know. So I feel as if, you know, I'm personally speaking personally now, I would really appreciate just sort of, you know, weighing all of this. But if you want to proceed going through ordinance language tonight, that's fine by me too.
Personally, I was not looking to hold a vote on this item tonight because I think, to your point, there is quite a bit yet to be discussed. I believe that all of these items, well, not all of them, but there were 3 or 4 that I believe are TBD from the Zoning and Planning Committee's perspective. So I was not looking to vote these out tonight, especially because, to your point, Councilor, we haven't gone through the language either. With that said, I see 2 hands online. We do have a motion, but I'm going to go to the committee here for additional questions and comments. Councilor Kalis.
Firstly, I'd like to move to close the public hearing.
That's also fair. We can close the public hearing at this point or leave it open for a while, but all those in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
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 Abstentions? No vote? I'm sorry, we have an abstention.
Unfortunately, I feel as if there needs to be more discussion and potential discussion from the public, and I am surprised that we're not having members of the public speaking tonight, because there are quite a few revisions. So, okay. So I'm going to abstain
You
from
will
that.
abstain. Okay. You can also vote no on it if you so choose.
Then I'll vote no.
Okay, so we are 4 to 1 to 0. The public hearing is currently closed. Mr.
So
McCormick?
then the other thing I support
sorry.
the motion to hold.
All right, great. Thank you, Councilor. But I'd like to go to Mr. McCormick for the planning board to close their public hearing as well.
Can I entertain a motion to close the public hearing? Okay. We have a motion to continue the public hearing at our next meeting on October 6th. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you, Chair.
So what was the final vote there? I'm just looking for, is your public hearing open? It is. Fantastic. Fantastic. Correct, but it's being held open. All right. And I believe it's okay for us to have one public hearing closed, one remain open. I would assume so.
Yeah, totally separate actions.
Great.
I was nodding yes, and I realized you couldn't see me. That's absolutely fine.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lee. I appreciate that. All right, Councilor Kalis, were you all set? Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
All right, with that said, Councilor Wright.
So I have a few questions or comments on the memo that was in the Friday packet. And so my first question was, and maybe we discussed it, for the home ownership at 100 plus units, it was originally at 20% were affordable between the 80% and 110%, and now we're down to 18.5%. Why was that?
Sorry, can you hear me okay? Amazing. So we wanted to keep the home ownership and the rental requirements as consistent as possible. So 100 plus units for the rentals, and then 100 plus units for the home ownership. Now will total 18.5%, which is consistent with how it was written previously as well.
Yes, but it's not quite doing apples and oranges, because before in the rentals you had both the 65% AMI and then the 110% AMI. Now we're removing it for good reason out of the rentals, so that's kind of changing things up. So just trying to make them similar with I don't agree with that. I'd rather keep it at 10 and 10. So my next comment, which, well, I said before, is the cash payment option, which I don't agree, for 10 through 19. I'd like to have a little bit of discussion on 3.11.10, the extremely low income ELI alternative compliance option. And so, which I think it's great, we're removing this, well, it's not great, but removing the supportive services so that more contractors or more buildings will have the extremely low income units. And I think getting more of those units is definitely something we want to do. But I don't know if all of a sudden it gets one-sided and everyone's doing that. And so then we're not getting anything in the higher AMIs, which it would take a long time, I think, to get to that point. But do we want to put some guardrails on there saying that if there's an X percent are at ELI in the city, that we may want to, you know, I don't know, turn down some projects or push them to have more of the 80% or average of 65%. I think it's good to have a good mix, and I don't know what the percentage is, but I didn't know if we should have some guardrails on that.
Mr. Heath.
Could I ask Kyle Talenti, who's run all the numbers for this stuff, to weigh in on that particular item?
Of course. Mr. Talenti? You're still, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Yes. So my understanding of the way that the recommended policy is written is there still will be some 65% of AMI units with the 30% of AMI units. And so there will be, it's not all at 30%, whether it's a project from 21 to 99 units or over 100. From a financial perspective, the ELI does create a benefit to a development. I don't believe, though, in every circumstance that means every developer is going to do it. Providing units at 30% of AMI can be challenging for developers that don't have experience in doing it. And so I don't think that it would be executed upon with every project, just because to provide units like that oftentimes will require a developer that has experience, and not everybody's going to have that. That being said, by removing the services agreement requirement, it does create a financial opportunity for those who are interested in doing it to potentially pursue it.
And I'm happy to share the memo if that would be helpful. Just look at what the proposed percentages would be under the ELI option.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So currently, the current ordinance reads you need at least 21 units in your project to even be eligible for this option, and you would be able to put forward 2.5% for the ELI tier, 7.5% for that blend of or average of 65% of AMI, excuse me, and then 2.5% at that middle income tier. 100 plus units, you'll see it's 5% across the board for a total of 15% of your units under the alternative, extremely low income alternative compliance option. So what we're proposing is actually increasing it to 40 units because at 40 units, you would actually owe an ELI unit. 2.5% of 40 is that one ELI unit that you would be required to provide. Removing the middle income tier, but leaving the 65% or affordable level to total, again, 12.5%. So 2.5% at the 30% of AMI, 10% at the average of 65% of AMI, and then 100 plus would be 5% at the ELI level, so 30%, and then 10% at the affordable level or the blend of 65% for a total of 15%.
So I have a question on that. So these are for rentals, and we took out the 110% AMI out of rentals just because those are very hard to rent, but yet we're putting it back in here. Do we really
No.
want it back in here?
Councilor Wright, I had the same issue just 2 seconds ago, and then I realized that the column on the left, the table on the left is the previous requirements, and the table on the right is the new requirements. Do I have that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the proposed
Okay.
requirements are here, this table on the right.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, thank you.
And I have some more questions, sorry. So was this, at the end of that page there on page 7, it says city staff has also recommended increasing the project minimum total from 21 units to 40 units, so at least one ELI unit would be required. Is that something new? Did we discuss this? I don't really remember that.
I think this was briefly discussed at the last SAP meeting. It's just the math works out 2.5% of 40 is that one ELI unit that would be required for this. If you were to keep it at the 21 units and the fractional cash payment went through, you technically would not owe an ELI unit and would be providing less units overall.
Okay. Are we going to do any more discussion on below 6 and below some type of cash payment? I don't know, if you have 3 units, you owe $25,000, you have 4 units, you owe $50,000, or something like that, so that it could go to the Affordable Housing Trust?
I believe so. I don't think that there is anything off the table yet in zoning and planning. There has not been a vote to finalize some parts of the some of the recommendations and not others. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes, that's my understanding as well, but I think Andrew Lee might want to jump in on the reduction piece.
Mr. Chair, just so I'm clear, is what Councilor Wright talking about the concept that came up at a prior ZAP meeting where units below 6 that don't require a inclusionary unit, there would be a required cash payment?
I don't believe that Councilor Wright is indicating either way what the requirement or what the options would be. We're just talking about a discussion at fewer than 7 units. Is that correct? Because
My question is, yeah, fewer than 7, I wouldn't be, I'm not saying requiring an affordable unit at 4, a project that's 4, but a partial payment of some sort to go into the Affordable Housing Trust, because there's a lot more of those smaller projects in the city than the bigger ones.
So I believe my understanding of what Councilor Wright wanted to discuss is correct. I did speak to this at a prior ZAT meeting. The city does not have an ability to require a cash payment. Even what we have currently in our ordinance, it's a payment in lieu of providing a unit. It is optional. And without that ability to choose to do an inclusionary unit, that actually constitutes an illegal tax, which the city does not have the authority to impose.
So could they then move the IZ down to 3 units and say you can give us an affordable unit, or pay cash in lieu of, again, like if a 3-unit building had, the cash payment would be $25,000, and then 4-unit building would be $50,000. I mean, we would prefer to have the affordable unit, but I know that it's difficult for contractors to make it work.
I'm going to say the same thing I said at the ZAT meeting perhaps 2 or 3 meetings ago, which is if the analysis and the studies pan out of having a unit at a lower unit development, then arguably it would be okay, but we'd have to do that economic analysis the same way we've done for all of the decisions with regards to how many units to require, depending on how large the development is. If it is a situation that the city is simply creating this obligation to really extract payment, that would be problematic. So I think I'll leave it at that, but strongly encourage any decision on lowering the amount or the unit count in order to, less than 6 or whatever number it is, to require an IZ unit, that the city engage in the analysis and the study that supports that, so that it's truly defensible, like the ordinance that we have right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Heath?
Again, I'd like to call on Kyle Talente, who looked at this specific issue, to share with us his findings.
Sure, thank you. This is Kyle Talente with RKG. We did look at did do an analysis of what would happen if the minimum unit threshold were lowered. And under the current policy, which is the roundup, once you hit 0.45 units, and the current calculation for the value of a income controlled unit, which currently stands at $650,000. What we learned was that if you were to lower the threshold, it would create an undue financial hardship on those smaller projects. Generally, to be as brief as I can, the smaller the project, the harder it is to accommodate the income controlled requirements. And that's why when we did our first analysis 5 years ago, you saw that you're able to step up the percentage requirement as you got to larger projects, because they were able to absorb some of those costs because of the economies of scale. So under the current policy, it would be financially infeasible. The recommendation that we put forward was, one, to change from the roundup strategy to the partial unit payment, which is in here, but we also recommended to lower the dollar calculation value from the $650,000 to a lower level that was based off of the value gap between a market rate unit and a 65% of AMI unit, which is substantially less than $650,000. At that point in time, you would have financial feasibility to drop down to I believe it was 4 units, and be able to do it. But once again, from our perspective, the recommendation would you have to make both of those changes to make that feasible.
Okay, thank you. I understand that. I wasn't looking at reducing our IZ number. Thank you.
Okay, are there any, there we go, Councilor Getz.
The only question I have for Mr. Talente is, whether or not we can provide in any way the proximity to mass transit, in terms of the percentages. Is that permissible? That's probably maybe a question for Andrew Lee. I'm not sure. But I just wondered, because I look at these, you know, the difference between rental and ownership, and then I also wonder whether or not we can, you know, apply the proximity to mass transit in terms of, you know, the percentages.
I'm sorry, could you ask that one more time, Councilor Getz?
Okay, I am trying to make the distinction with among the percentages with the proximity of the lot to mass transit. Can we make that distinction? Can we designate, you know, say if it's within a half mile of mass transit, can we shift the percentages, you know, in terms of a requirement? Or is it permissible to do that, you know, in terms of, you know, designation?
I think I would have to take that under advisement. The concern that I have is, again, we with the IZ ordinance, it's somewhat unique in the sense that we do have to look at the financial feasibility. And I don't know how that consideration really plays into that in terms of adjusting what the affordable levels would be. But also I have to think about the general uniformity requirement in zoning, where similarly situated buildings in this situation, what we've looked at is uniformity in the number of units, and then how those are regulated. So I would have to look at if the location, considering the reasons we have the IZ ordinance and what it is the city's trying to accomplish, if the location of the site in proximity to transit is sufficient difference and justification to get us away from the uniformity requirements. So I'll look at those two questions and have to get back to you.
All set, Counselor? Fantastic. All right, I am not seeing further hands at this point. And if I recall, we have a motion to hold this item from Counselor Kalis, if I recall. So from that perspective, all those in favor of holding this item, please say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Fantastic. Zoning and Planning has held this item. And I believe I need to turn to the Planning Board as well, because you have this item open as well, or are we all set with the public hearing, which will remain open?
I think we continued it to our October 6th meeting.
Okay, you continued it. Okay, so then we're all set on this item as well. The Zoning and Planning public hearing is closed as well. So we will be moving on from 4424. I believe that is correct, right? I did that correctly? Oh, I'm sorry. It was Councilor Getz. My apologies. Thank you. Always love to be accurate here. Okay, so moving along, we are on to item 249-25, the reappointment of Philip Plattel to the Economic Development Commission, and my apologies if I have hammered your last name. Do we have any comment, questions about this reappointment? Again, this is item 249-25. Seeing none, do I have a motion? Councilor Getz. All right, we have a motion to approve. Any comments on that motion? Fantastic. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, we are unanimous approval on item 249-25. Our final item for the night is item 251-25, the reappointment of Nancy Grissom to the Newton Historical Commission. Do I have any comment, questions for this item? I should also note that I do not see either Ms. Grissom or Mr. Plattel in the audience. So do I have a motion on this item?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Fantastic. We're also unanimous on that item. So I believe that concludes our business here. correct? We've got everything open, closed, shut down, and moved along the way we need to, correct? Fantastic. I'm sure Councilor Baker would be proud. All right, thank you. And with that, I think we're all set. Thank you so much. Just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, fantastic. We are adjourned. I'm not going to vote that one. Thank you.
Recording stopped.